Welcome back to the Automation Show. My name is Shawn from Insights in Automation, and you can see here I have the desk full of ControlLogix and CompactLogix, PLC 5s, and even I have a 504 right here. And the reason is today we're going to be taking a look at a new product from RTA. This is an Ethernet-based Allen Bradley PLC to Data Highway Plus Gateway. This allows you to get up to 32 devices on Data Highway Plus, like PLC 5s and Slick 504s, to communicate to up to 5 Allen Bradley PLCs or PACs on Ethernet. And so that's why I grabbed all these Compact and ControlLogix and all these PLC 5s and a Slick 504 so we could test it out. Now, the cool thing about this is, at least in my opinion, is that unlike the classic way, like if you wanted to do this classic setup, what would you do, right? Well, you'd typically go out and buy a ControlLogix chassis, you'd buy a power supply, you'd buy an Ethernet card and some Data Highway Plus cards. And I know a lot of you out there already have this set up, right, in your office. You may have a bunch of Data Highway Plus cards going through an Ethernet card. And that's great, right? That's great. But to actually get the data from your PLCs into your PACs or your Logix controllers, you actually have to write programs, right? There's no produce consumed, right? It's not going to just map in like I/O. You actually have to write message instructions. And having supported people trying to write message instructions for over 30 years, I can tell you, not everybody gets it. And there's some downsides to doing message instructions. And that's the cool thing about this device. And I should mention something else. That DHRIO card we've been using for 25 years that I think most of us really like, that's end of life this year. So after this year, what are you going to do? You can't get it anymore, right? And granted, yes, if your PLC 5s, if you have the next gen PLC 5s or you have a 504, you can convert the serial port to Ethernet. I actually looked at an RTA product that does that. It works really well. But do you really want to buy 32 of those? And then you got to drop Ethernet to each of those locations? No, if everything's already networked up on Data Highway Plus, why would you do that? And that's where a product like this comes in, because you don't have to write any message instructions. It's based on their newest platform, the D2E platform, right? It's new. It came out like late last year. And it's not going obsolete like the DHRIO card. Sorry, DHRIO. Really a great card. But, you don't have to write any message instructions. You put this in, you bring in your blue hose, right? Out the other side, you go Ethernet. And you can, in some very easy, or what looks to be, I haven't used it yet, what looks to be very easy web pages, you can set up the data flow between your 32 devices on Data Highway Plus and your 5 devices on Ethernet. So very cool, and I'm hoping it all works as advertised. I think it will, but as you can see here, I have not opened it yet. So let me do this. I'm going to go ahead and clear a space here on the table, and then we'll go ahead and do the unboxing, and once that's done, we'll mount it right here, and we'll give it a shot. Hey everyone, I just want to interrupt this video really quick to let you know for the next 2 weeks only, RTA is having what they call their Great American Legacy Sale. Save up to 40% on their products, and it's not just the product I'm showing you here, the Data Highway Plus Ethernet, that is on a huge savings, but also check out all these other products they have here that are on sale. So check them out. We have some of the products I've covered in previous shows, but just a ton of their legacy gateways. So if you're looking to either pick up the unit I'm covering today or one of these other gateways, some of them I covered in the past, check out their website. I'll include a link in the description. For 2 weeks only, it's RTA's Great American Legacy Sale. Okay, I've cleared off the workbench. Let's go ahead and open this up. I did already slice it open here and before the camera started rolling. So let's see if I did a good job here, if I can get it open. All right, yeah, there we go. And you can see right there, we got a bunch of QR codes and expert support, 1-800 number. They are also located in the USA, and they also make their products in the USA. So that's very important. And let's go ahead and open her up here. Oh, it looks like it got bounced around a little bit. And let's get this guy out of there. All right, let's see what else is in here. I'll put the unit one side for a moment. Let's see what else we got here. Okay, we got a 3-foot orange patch cord. Okay, good. And then this is for power. Okay, we'll put that one side. And you can see in here, you can collect all 5 prizes for a remote control drone. Interesting. All right. So let's put this box one side. And now let's take a look at the actual unit itself. Okay, we can see the 2 Ethernet ports. Now you can set those up to be a 2-port switch, or you can set them up to be independent. I thought that was very cool. There is some limitations when they're independent, but that can give you some added security if you don't want, people configuring it from the OT network, or you don't want the people configure it to be on the OT network. Okay, let's look at the label here. Okay, 830 volts DC, so a wide range there. See the model number or part number? 460 ETC DHM. Okay. See the MAC addresses there for both Ethernet ports. And of course, this is where we're going to wire up the DH+. And we have that beautiful blue on that side. DIN rail mount. And one of the cool things about this device is, if you say you started with wanting to do, Data Highway Plus to Allen Bradley PLCs, PC cubed, and then you said, no, I want to go Modbus TCP, you can actually get on the phone with tech support, and they'll send you, they won't change the label, but they'll send you the firmware, because this line can do all kinds of different protocols. So you could actually flash this in the field to be a completely different part number. And I think that's cool, because you know what, sometimes you order the wrong thing, you're in a jam, you're like, hey, I got the Data Highway Plus model on to Ethernet, Allen Bradley Ethernet on the shelf, but I need to go Modbus TCP, boom. A couple calls to call the tech support, and a few minutes later, an email later, you're up and running, and you can have it doing something else. So this line does a lot of different things, and so they could flash it for you. I wouldn't recommend doing that as a standard, because the label's going to be wrong, right? It's going to be a different part number, because the part number matches the functionality. But that is it. Not a lot of other things to see here. Let me go ahead and zoom in on it while it's on the workbench. Get a really good look at it. And yeah, so we've unboxed it. And I'm glad they put QR codes on here. So now the next step will be, I'm going to wire it up. I'll bring everything back in. I'll wire it up. We'll power it up. And let's see if we can get into the web page and actually set it up to read some data out of my PLC 5s and SLC 504. And we'll send it to a CompactLogix and to a ControlLogix. I'll just pick a couple of those. And each of these units have my light sequencer in it. So it's just making the lights go back and forth like Knight Rider or Cylons. So in any case, that's what we'll do. So I will be right back. Okay, I've moved all the products back together here, and you can see under the overhead cam, I couldn't fit all 3 PLC 5s in, but as you can see, I got 2 of them here within the overhead cam's reach. And also here on the workbench, you can see I've mounted the RTA module right here, the gateway right here. And you can see what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to read in information from these PLCs, the SLC 500 and the PLC 5s. I have these lights going up and down. And so I'm going to use those, try to read those in and write it to the outputs. You can see right here on the outputs, and a lot of these ControlLogix, they're at 255, okay? You can see here, some of these are easier to see than others. But in any case, so what we're going to do is try to read the changing lights in from the PLC 5s and SLC and send them over to these 4 CompactLogix and ControlLogix here, L63, L73S, L30, and L306. So that's what we're going to attempt to do, and we're going to do it all in this module here with no message instructions. That's my hope. Now, the first thing we need to know is that in these legacy PLCs on Data Highway Plus, the address I'm looking for is N70. That's where that bit array is going. So that's what we're going to be reading in. And then in the Compact and ControlLogix, it's lights output. That's my tag. So let's go over to the computer and see if we can get this guy set up. I haven't even plugged them in yet. So let's go over to the computer first. And I just wanted to show you inside of RSLinx Classic. You can see here, this is my Data Highway Plus network. So I have the 504, the 510, the 511, and the 560. I chose the 10 and 11 because some people said that they didn't have Data Highway Plus. Yes, they do have Data Highway Plus. But in any case, every PLC 5 ever made had Data Highway Plus. In any case, so we can see all that there. I do have my gateway there, which you can see over here. That's what we're looking through, right? So we're coming in the EMBT. I chose the classic EMBT because that's what a lot of you might have if you installed the gateway in back in the early 2000s. And then 2 DHRAOs, which of course you won't be able to get after this year. So they say. And then over here you can see I have in this 13-slot chassis, I have my L73S, and I also have an older L63. And then of course I have L24, L16. We're not going to use those today. I'm going to focus on the L30 and the L306. So with all that said, let's look at the manual, which I've gone up to RTA's website and I downloaded the manual. And it seems like step 1 is to run this little IP setup utility. But before we do that, I want to power the unit on. I have not powered it on yet. And so one of the things you want to make sure is you have this polarity correct. I saw in the manual where it said that it could damage it if you wired it up incorrectly. So I don't know if that's just the wrong voltage or if it's actually polarity. But in any case, we can see here ours is wired up correctly. So I'm going to go ahead and plug her in. Okay, you can see her come on. Let's go back to the computer here. And let's go ahead and run IP setup. We'll give it a minute to finish booting up. Okay, let's do a search again. Hey, I found it right away. All right, so I need to give this an address. So let me just give it 192.168.1. I don't think I'm using 198. So let's give it that. Subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Gateway and DNS, I'm going to leave those blank because we're not going to be connecting this to the internet or, going through any routers. So let's hit, we got that guy selected. Let's hit set. And it's rebooting again. Okay, it seems like it's done. Let's search again. We'll select it. Yeah, let's get that 198 address. Let's go ahead and close that and see what's next here in the manual. Okay, next they say we could ping it. I'm not going to ping it. And now we can just put in the address of the unit in our browser. So let's see what browser I have installed here. I believe you can see all the different PLCs I'm connected to. Okay, I have Chrome coming up here. Let's do 192.168.1.198. And here we are. Okay, let me go to configuration mode. It says put in the gateway into configuration mode will stop communications from running. Okay, well, we don't have anything set up in there yet, so that's okay. It says the gateway is now in configuration mode. Restart the gateway to put it into run mode. Okay, so let's call this DHP to EIP. Okay, we'll save that. We can see we're using port 2 here. Port 1 is not connected. All right, let's go to network configuration. Okay, if we wanted to, we could set up port 1. We could give it a static address. I'll go ahead and do that now. Okay. Excellent. All right, so now let's go to, I want to go to the DH plus side first. And we'll leave these settings all at defaults here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new generic PLC. And we'll start with the Slick 504. And it's at address number 01. It's we're going to read one tag from it just for our test here. And we need to make sure it says 500 CPU. So let's generate the read lines here. And this is going to be N70 for our test. So we'll save that. Okay, so now we'll add another PLC, generic slave. We're going to call this the PLC 510. And this is at address 10 on our Data Highway Plus. We're going to do, again, just one read. We got to make sure this is right, PLC 5. It really requires that to be correct. Generate scan lines. And again, we'll do N70, save. Now the other two are both PLC 5, so let's go ahead and copy that. from DH2, and this one will make 511 at address 11. Everything else is the same. Save, and then we'll make a copy of that one and call it 560 at 60. PLC 5, 1, and 7. Good. Okay, so I got my 4 Data Highway Plus devices in there. Now let's go back to the Allen Bradley PLCs on Ethernet. And I'm going to start with my first PLC. And for some reason, I can't edit this. I don't know if that's a bug. Let's add another one. Okay, that one looks better. So first thing I'll do is I will enable it. I'm going to call this the, let's start with the L73S. We'll give it an IP address of 192.168.1.157. This is in slot 0. That has to be right. Oh, look it. I did L73S. There we go. Let's see. This is not a CompactLogix. This is a ControlLogix. It is in slot 0. I'm not going to change any of this. I do want to write. We read in from the other guys. Now I'm going to write. So generate scan line. Okay, we have one here. What's the name of my tag? I called it light out int. Okay. And what is it? It is a integer. Okay, we're going to write the same data types to the same data types. Okay, so let's save that. Okay, let me go ahead and delete that original one that we had there. And now I'm going to go ahead and add another one. Let's copy it from this L73, and we'll call it an L63. Same address, but I have it in slot 6. ControlLogix, one write line, same tag name, save. Okay, so now I'm going to duplicate that guy. Well, let me duplicate this one. Okay, and we'll call this the 306. That is at, I believe it's 74. Let's go ahead and go back to RS links and find out. Yep. And the slot needs to be 0 for CompactLogix. Must change that. These things have to be correct. And this is still the same tag though. Okay, everything looks good there. And let me copy that one and make it an L30ER, and it was 73. Slot 0, CompactLogix, very important. And the tag is the same. Okay. Just making sure that they're all enabled. You want to make sure they're enabled. If they're not enabled, it won't work. Okay, so we're good there. Now, one thing I just noticed, these are all assigned to Ethernet port 1. I'm actually using port 2, so that's not going to work. So let me change these all to port 2. And, okay, great. So those are all correct now. All right, so now let's go to display data. And look at it, it's auto mapping. I really don't want it to auto map. I want to choose what goes where. So I'm going to do edit mapping. I'm going to choose manual. Yep. Okay. And now I'm going to change these. I want the 504 going to the, let's do the L63. I want the 510, let's send that to the L30ER. The 511 we'll send to the 306. We'll just leave that one there. And then the 560 we'll send to the L73. Okay. That looks good to me. Let me go ahead and save. And if I've done everything correctly, we should be good to go. So I got the camera zoomed in on the I/O cards. We'll see if they change from their 255 state to whatever the PLC 5s and SLC 500 are doing. This is by default going to update once a second. So let's go ahead and restart it and see if it works. Okay, so we got some red lights on the unit, which means we haven't set something up correctly. So let's go through our configuration and see if we can figure out what we did wrong. I'm going to go to port configuration. I can't change anything here. I'm going to go to, well, let me go to configuration mode first. Okay. I'm going to go to network configuration. We know we're using port 2. Okay, let's go to the Data Highway Plus side. Hey, this isn't enabled. I wonder why. Well, that is probably what I forgot to do. Just going to go through and verify the addresses. I must not have enabled those Data Highway Plus devices before I left the page. So let's go ahead and restart the module and try it again. Okay, I can see from the overhead cam, and that was the trick. I forgot to enable those PLCs, and now that I have, you can see they're updating actually faster than once a second. So it looks like all 4, we have success on all of them. They're all working. And so if I come down here to display data, I can see, hey, look at this data coming in there. There's data coming in here. There's data coming in here. And there's data coming in here. So we had success using this new RTA product to read data from PLCs on Data Highway Plus. We got a 504, we got 3 PLC 5s, and send them to our Logix controllers over Ethernet. So we have an L73S, we have an L63, we have an L30 and an L306, and it seems to work. Now remember, you can do up to 32 on Data Highway Plus, but only up to 5 on Ethernet. So the other thing too is if we go back to the computer, the one thing I also thought here, when I'm selecting the device, and again, this could just be my firmware, but these addresses here for the PLCs, they don't have, and down here, they don't have the IDs I gave them. So it'd be easier if I could see the name I gave it rather than, like for instance, well, which 157 is this, right? Because I have 2, not that everybody's going to have multiple PLCs in the same chassis, but again, it would be nice to see having that information is good, but also having our ID or giving us a choice to view the ID versus the slave number here, like which one's the 510, which one's the 511, you know? So that would be something else I think that would be very helpful. But in any case, I do think the product was fairly easy to set up. I got all this going in, half a day. And so just imagine now the freedom you have. You don't have to edit any of your PLC programs, right? You don't have to edit any of them. You can now just take this one little device, put it on your network, and take 32 Data Highway plus PLCs and share data with up to 5 Ethernet Allen Bradley PLCs. Now, I didn't try, I suppose it would work with a MicroLogix 1400 or a SLC 505. I did not try that. I don't think that's going to be a very popular use case, but in any case, I did want to bring that up to you while I was here. And with that, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Automation Show. I want to thank RTA for not only sending the unit out, but also for sponsoring this to make it ad-free. That underwrote a big portion of my costs, so there's no ads on this episode. And I just want to wish you all an awesome day, an awesome week. Wish you health and happiness. And until next time, my friends, peace.